percent of total is just pretty much the percent of total.
Yep. The percent of total is the percent of the total sums in sales. So 114 plus 328 plus 91 plus 206. Just taking 114 divided by that. So the 114,000 bookcases total is 15% of the entire furniture total.
And if you went back in, if I understand how it's set up, if I was wanting to look at it strategically, I'd want to see, okay, rank first and down or vice versa.
Right.
Can you go back in, it's not going to throw that off, or is bookcases set up as the number one, or is it formatted the second those move and just falls right back in line too, as far as once they'll start moving around?
Yep. The cool thing about the quick table calcs is actually, other than running total, which like works your way down, I guess, it doesn't matter. You can have them in any order you want. So if you wanted to sort it by rank, you definitely could. Okay. I will, after we get done with this class, I'll record a separate video because, again, I get paid by the hour, so I'm all for doing extra work on I'll just walk you guys through connecting to Google Sheets. So if you want to go back in and watch that again, it'll just be a separate video. As far as the quick table calcs, we haven't really covered anything super hard where you'd want to like go back in and watch. So I think we're all right. Okay, and then percentile. This one is, gosh, I feel like I keep saying this, but the definition is kind of in the name. This will show you it's kind of the same as rank, but as a percentile. So I don't know if you ever used to take standardized tests and it'd say you're in the 90th percentile of the class or whatever. That's just showing out of every row that exists, are you in the top 100, which would mean you're number one. You'd see if you're number two, that means you're top 66%. Third would be you're the top 33%. And then fourth would be top 0%. So if you wanted to, same thing with your customer data, instead of showing this is our number 10 customer, well, how many customers do you have? Is that good or bad? Is that first or last? If it was 10 out of 10,000, you could say, well, this is in the top 99 percentile of customers. So it's a top 10% customer.
When would you use percentile over rank? Like for this instance, it's redundant to use both.
Yeah. So the question is, when would you use rank versus percentile? I would say it would matter on if you knew how many customers you had. Then rank is probably the more straightforward way. Like if we have 100 customers and you pull one up and you see this is our number 80 customer, that's pretty easy to do the math and saying, okay, well, they're in the top 20%, they're towards the bottom right. However, if I was going into a data set, I had no idea, or like Rochelle's visualization where it spanned, just countless rows columns to the right. I don't know how many customers are in there. So I would like to see that as a percentile. So if I hover over one, I can see, oh, they're in the top 10%. That could be there's 10 customers and they're number one, or it could be there's 1,000 customers and they're number 10 or 100, I guess. So that's kind of where I differentiate between the two. And then the last one here, moving average. A lot of these don't really make sense in this example. Moving average, you'd probably want to show like over time or something like that. But that just goes in, and instead of running total, summing these up over time, this is going to average them over time. So the moving average right now, this is taking right now we just have 114. So showing 114. And then the next one is going to average 114 and 328,000. So you see it goes up to the middle, 221. And then the next one is going to average 114, 328, 91, 178. And then the last one, it'll average those all together. So I use moving average a lot if I'm looking at data like over time and it's like really jagged and you're trying to identify trends. It's like just smooth it out a little bit and kind of show where the average is. And you can go in and you can make that moving average everything prior, or maybe just want like the last 6 months, but a really, really handy one there. Any questions on any of these? Again, we'll show you when we get to our hands-on section in a bit. It may make more sense, but at least the general concept or principle. Cool. So the only, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, as soon as you click percent of, or running total or percent of total, whatever you want, it populates correctly. There are some times where you may want to adjust it. So I wanted to kind of walk you guys through, and I'm actually going to do kind of what I did last week. Whoops. All right. So in these previous examples I was showing here, everything we were doing, like running total, it was going down, and then it was resetting at office supplies, then it was summing up again, and then resetting here. You can adjust which way that goes. And so for this example, I brought in a slightly different calculation where I still have my categories and subcategories here, but then I have region across the top here. Now, when I bring in running total, by default, it's going to do exactly what we just showed, where it sums up table down, right? Or I need to explain the definitions first. So this is everything that in the table here. This is a table, okay? So right here, I have an option to sum everything up, or moving average, or do the rank, anything like that, doing table across, which is going to take the table, and then it is going to calculate those things across. So if we had the running sum, it would take 24,000 plus 43,000. Now, if I selected the next one down and had table down, it would do, and we'll just stick with the running total because I think that's the easiest to understand. It would calculate the running total across the whole table down. Then you start getting into these kind of tricky ones, across then down. That one, in this previous example, when we had these differences, you see how the first one's blank because there's nothing to subtract it from above. If we did across then down, it would calculate our differences across. So the first one would still be blank because there's nothing to compare it to. But when we got to this one in the top right, bookcases west, it would then go, it's gone across, then it would go down. So it would bring in the difference of 85,000 compared to 36,000, and then go across 96 to 85, 45 to 96, all the way across. And then it would go down again and compare 15,000, whoops, to 101,000. Let me pause there for a second. Does that make sense so far?
See what it's doing, but how it's utilizing it.
Right. And only some of them really matter, right? If we were doing like percent of total or something like that, it wouldn't matter if we went across first, then down, or down, then across, because it's going to sum up, or a percent of total, right? It would sum up everything and then get the percent. The order doesn't matter. But the big difference that would matter is, are we doing a table or a pane? So what's the difference between those two? Like I said, this is the entire table. The pane is everything inside of your categories. So the breakdown here. So this is one pane. This is another pane. And then this is we'll do this way. This is a third pane right there. So if we were to do, let's go back to this example, the running total here. Which of these am I, let's go ahead and copy this over. And anyone feel free to shout this out. I'll give you a hint. It's not the one I have selected in this screenshot. Which of these am I calculating for the running total? Yeah, just pane down. Since I don't, it's kind of confusing, but since I don't have any dimensions across the top, there is no really across in this case. And actually, if I pulled up this drop down with this data, it wouldn't even show those options because there's nothing to go across.
So it's smart enough to know that those are not even an option.
Yep, which helps.
Yeah.
And I promise this will make more sense once we get some hands-on stuff. But it is, I think the big takeaway here is understanding the difference between a table and a pane, because there's going to be times where you're going to want it to reset for each category, and then understand the difference between across and down. And let's actually, I want to get some hands-on with those before we get into dates. So let's just go ahead and break now. We'll make it a short one. Let's call 6 minutes. Be back here at 7. And then we'll do some hands-on, and then we'll come back, talk about the date ones, get some hands-on there, and then kind of keep iterating. So back here at 7 o'clock. All right, 701. Get rid of my fancy ticker. I will share my screen, pull up Tableau Public, and walk through some of these. Actually, okay, you guys can see that. All right, we're just going to kind of tick through these one by one. So to start out with, we'll use the same exact example just to keep things simple. We'll bring category over to rows, subcategories over to rows, sales to our text. And then there we go. I was trying to do a table without cheating and using the show me for once. Cool. Something there is. Okay. So the maybe kind of only annoying thing about, I'll pull this off, about quick table calculations is, say I wanted to, actually, can I do this? Yeah. So I want to show the percent of total for our sales. I click this. Nice. I figured it out so you guys can see our drop down. Right down here is quick table calculation. And I'm going to start out with percent of total just because that's the one that we keep doing. And right away from the start, I see something's not right because I add up these 4 in my furniture and it adds to 32%. So who knows what's happening here and why this isn't showing kind of the expected percent of total. What is that, Ryan?
Looks like it's just adding 12.
Right. So let's click into here. Right down here, we have that compute using, the second thing, and we see that it's on table down. So it is calculating, and we can validate it real quick if we select all these. It is calculating the percent of the entire total going down. Yep, so there's the sum, 100%. We want it to be just for our category. So we're gonna go compute using right here, pane down. Now I can see these 4 come in, that adds up to 100, then it resets, these up to 100, these add up to 100. Now what I was getting ready to say is the only kind of annoying thing about quick table calcs is when you go in to select it, it removes your original one. So we have to drag sales back over here. Bring our measure names back up here. See, I'm going to have to cheat. So now we have our sales and our percent of total. So let's pause right there. I just want to make sure that you guys are getting each one of these and have Tableau and everything set up. So open up Tableau Public, bring in our Superstore, and let's see if you guys can replicate this. What was that? The measure names filter automatically comes in. If you just start with sales. Yeah. let me know when you guys got it. Or if you have questions, of course. Got it? Yeah, I'll just do. Yeah. Remember details hidden behind. Yeah, so if you bring, yeah, let's go ahead and just do. No. So that's our quick table calc. And then you can go ahead and just drag sales back on top of the process just to get rid of that. And then if you want to change the order. Does that make sense? Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep, that's exactly right. So just drag down slightly above. Yeah. Yeah, that works. There you go. Yes.
Mine's like next to each other.
Yeah, see, that's what I was about to combine too, and then just. What's annoying though is if you saw me, I didn't know I couldn't do that without using the show me thing. It's crippled me.
I'll just see if we get this over here.
Right.
What's the same on the show?
No, I see what you're saying.
I would just double click on it and put.
Still,
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing, I was like,
We're learning it total.
it's hard, just, it's hard to figure it out for me.
Sweet. And then just change that.
Whoever created Tableau,
They did
good
the
job. Just to use it.
Did you get it? Yeah. Cool. All right. Anyone remote running into issues?
Just a little slower, I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. I'll give you a couple more minutes here. Let me know if there's anything I can help out with. All right. James, I think you just messaged percent of sales to not show crazy high numbers. Could you give me an example of what yours is showing? Whoops. Sorry, I needed to add you back to the stream there. What do yours have for the percent of sales? Oh, whoops. Are you sharing your screen? Sorry, I think you're muted right now.
Yeah, I lost the internet for a second and it just kicked me out. Can you see the screen?
Yep, I got you.
I was watching you do it, but I think I missed a step. Like I'm like at like 200%. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, so click into your sum of sales and it has the little triangle. Yep, there you go. Go to quick table calc. Yep, and then just make sure you're on percent of total. Yep. There you go. Now click back into that. Right where you just clicked. And do compute using. And then we'll want that to be paying down. Yep. There you go. So I think instead of percent of total, you're just on percent difference or something like that.
Okay.
Cool. Ted, are you good?
Getting closer.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I'm totally fine.
I just have it backwards.
Oh, like the sales and percent of sales?
Yeah.
Yeah, all you have to do to change the order of those is the order that they show up. Whoops, I'm not sharing my screen.
I separated them and now it disappeared on me.
Yeah, the order that they show up over here in the measure values. You see here I have my sum of sales. Here I have my quick table calc. You can drag them up or down, and that's the order that they'll show up over to the right.
Yeah, so it just
If you want, you can share your screen. And I can walk you through it. If not,
it's coming up.
oh, okay, gotcha.
So what I did was it disappeared when I had measured values up here, right?
Oh yeah.
Got rid of all these. I need measured names, but anyway, I'll just rip that out of there.
Yeah, what I was telling these guys, go ahead and just drag sales back onto text, like over to the left, grab that sales, or you can leave that one there. Like grab sales from your measures.
Yeah, looking here.
It's down below. There you go. And then what I always do is I just go back up to the show me button because I can never remember how to make tables. And I just click the tables. There you go. Cool. Then the only other thing is click on the arrow where click that arrow and do compute using pane down.
And then I wanted to pull this one down below.
Yep.
For some reason, it just kept flipping them, and I don't know. Thank you.
Yep. No problem at all. Okay. So that part, a little tricky, but we got it. And now tables are fine. I think they do a really, really good job of showing what's happening. It's easy to go down rows and across columns. But I want to show you, this is a data viz course after all. So I want to show you kind of a real world example of, I literally use percent of total in like every single chart I make. So let's say we bring order date over to our columns. Let me make this big for there we go. And we're going to choose kind of like always month, year. And then let's go ahead and make this. There we go. We want to look at our sales over time, and we want it to be broken out by category. So this can be, sales numbers. If you're signing customers up, maybe you have different regions, you have sales leaders. Regardless of what you're showing, I don't like showing total aggregates when comparing dimensions across multiple dimensions because, yeah, technology is up top here, but relative to those other ones, like did just technology have a good month or did all three of them have a good month, which is kind of pacing higher or lower. So what I always like to do is instead of showing the total sum of sales is I'll go into here, I'll click quick table calc, I'll do percent of total. And now you notice nothing changed. And even though we're not in a table view with traditional rows and columns, you can still start to think, okay, it's showing the percent of total, and this is only 2%. If I sum up everything in here, I get a sum of 100%. So it is calculating the percent of total across compute using entire table. Now, if think about it in a table view, here's our columns right across the bottom. Here's our rows across the top. So we want to calculate it using table down. We want to see the percent of sales every month. So we go in here, we go compute using table down. Now I can see, okay, in this month, and I literally just thought that technology had a good month in December, but I can see that it was only 26% of our sales, where the month before it was 42% of our sales. We had it make up 56% of our sales in March. We had furniture make up 64% of our sales in January. So a lot of times, maybe I don't want to show it like this. Maybe let's go into here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go sum of sales, just like it was. And to make things a little cleaner, let's put just, let's go just 2020. Then what I like to do is I'll take sum of sales, I'll put that on my detail and change that to percent of total, compute using table down. So now when I hover, I can see, okay, we had 49,000 sales and that made up 42% in November 2020. Here we see it was down, only made 26%. This one made 36%, this one made 37%. So you can see compute using table down, we're still adding up, or it's in my detail now, but it's still adding up to 100%. So let's go ahead and try that real quick. Order date on the column, sum of sales on the row, and then let's bring sum of sales onto the category. And again, we're just doing quick table count, percent of total, and compute using table down. If you just drag order date over there, you can click this little drop down here and you'll see month with the month and year. Pop around.
That's what I did.
Got it?
Yeah, I just figured it out. Thank you. Okay, so I have a question. On your rows on some cells, do you have an as a running total?
Right now I just have our normal sum of sales on the row. I put our quick table calc over on the detail so you can see it on the hover here. Mm.
I think we had maybe about an order or something like that. So the order date. Yes, I think it's just,
What, so I have like to November now.
I think actually if you hover over the last one there, I think it is December, just the access is like go to full screen here. That whole one, sorry. Yep. Oh, still showing up, but it's just
It's just like, so it's not.
Yep, it is actually showing. Order date, yep. And you can always tell. Yeah, I think so too. The little icons over here will tell you if you want a date. Make sure that's the calendar one. Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all I did was just drag order date onto the filter. And then years. And then I just like to get this to 2020 now. Just because there's a lot of data showing on there else.
Yeah. And then just.
Yeah. You could take it down. I'm going to keep using the W option unless I'm clicking on it.
I mean, that's, I was in the right spot.
But you have order date 2006.
Oh, yeah, different year.
There we go. I think it may have been,
I think I was in the, I was on percentile on that.
right.
Yeah.
It seems to be the same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
coming up for
Okay.
this percentile.
So that's a good example of Tableau knowing what's possible, and it will only show,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll switch the year. Oh, I know, year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know a couple people are still finishing up here, but I did want to talk through a couple weeks ago, we had talked about tooltips, and I had made the comment that like sometimes the labels that Tableau gives you in tooltips are really annoying. I would never want to publish this to something our CEO would read, because he'd pull it up, he'd see percent of total sales, a long table down 56%. Like that's not a digestible format. So this is a really good example of when I'd click into tooltip and maybe I'd say something like let's actually get rid of all these. In insert, we're going to pull in our month. And I love category typing tooltips as opposed to just like field value in like a list. I like typing like how you'd actually read it. So in month, our category paid sales, in sales, accounting for So you kind of have to know what these things are while you're typing this up. But now if we hit OK and we hover over it, we can see something really nice. In November 2020, our technology category made $49,000 in sales, accounting for 42% of our monthly total. Now, not only do they not have to understand what a long table across down means, but they also don't even have to look through each individual field to look what they're looking for. Now, what I would typically do is I'd go in here and maybe make the important things, maybe like bold and darker, bold and dark, bold and dark. I actually love the way that looks now. November 2020, technology, 49,000, 42%. And again, you could keep it. Let's go ahead and reset it. Maybe you like the way that it looks in this kind of list view. All I would do is like month of order date, maybe get rid of that. So I just say month. Maybe I move sales up. I think that's more important. And then maybe I just change this to like percent of monthly sales, something that's a little bit more digestible, and then it looks just as good. But
you go back to where you had put percentage of totals on, but you put insert.
yeah, so if you hit insert down here in this bottom section, all these are like Tableau default things. These are basically all the fields that we have on our view. So percent of total sum sales, that's our calculated field over here. Category we have on our color. Month of order date we have up here. Sum of sales we have right here. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the tooltip stuff, but I do want to go through. Luckily, the rest of these are going to be pretty copy paste. So I'm going to kind of tick through them pretty quick. We're not going to get kind of hands on for every single one. But let's go. So let's change sum of sales to running total. And then notice how that's the thing that I hate is it replaces it. So we always have to drag sum of sales back over here to keep them all in here. So this one, again, you see it's doing just by looking at it here, calculating table down. So we're going to click back into here and do compute using pane down. Now, just like that, the same exact steps as percent of total. The only difference was we clicked running total as opposed to percent of total. No, I think you're actually using, I don't know how you did it, but you have the newer version of the Superstore data. So I think you have, just a slightly different file, which I'm a little jealous of because you have some other data points in your data set that we don't have. So you were able to pull in something slightly updated.
Can you do that one more time?
Let's just go ahead and get rid of it. So what I did was I just started with the sum of sales we already had over here. Because you see, if you try to drag it over again, it'll tell you you already have one over there. So you always have to start with the one that you have. Quick table calc, running total, and then compute using pane down. And then now that it knows this is a different calculation, you can bring sum of sales back over to the front. So now we have our sum of sales.
So that's just something that you just didn't remember.
The fact that it doesn't replace it. Yeah. I remember it so much because it's so annoying.
Yes.
All right.
Should it automatically change from the graph to the table?
I went back to the table. Sorry, I have two different sheets down here. Yep. Yep. I think the tables just are a little bit easier to understand. The downs and across. You're right. Anyone running into anything? Cool. Let's see. Let's go back over to here. Actually, I'm going to delete this one. We'll start fresh. Let's bring in 8. Let's bring in our sales and our category. You have a quick second. You getting it, Rochelle?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So this is the same starting point that we had last time. Now we're going to go into here and we're going to try that running total because I want to know over the past 3 years, where have I made the most from over time? So let's go quick table calc, running total. And then we didn't even have to adjust any of the compute using things. Tableau is smart sometimes. So you can see January 2017, here's our, right where we started, 6,000, 4,000, 3,000. If we go back, let's double check it. Yep, 643. And then all we had to do was just go compute use, or whoops, quick table calc, running total. And automatically is showing as of December, we've made $836,000 from technology. So that's our leader, then furniture, then office supplies. Get it all right? No.
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
So earlier you did the tool set and you had entered it all those, like.
Yeah.
Made it all faster, I guess. When you're presenting to whomever your stakeholders or whatnot, you are using it as a way to like dialogue. It's not so much that they're hovering over it.
Right. Yeah. Well, so typically, if I was presenting, I would probably try to keep the text as small as possible because I don't want them to get distracted. So in this case, if I was presenting to you guys, I would probably have it be something like this. We'll just call this like something that I can hover over and they don't get distracted trying to read a paragraph. However, if I publish this and send it out to you guys as homework or something, that's when I'd probably go in and add the context because you can be a lot more descriptive about exactly what this is showing. Because if I just looked at this, technology December total sales is 836,000, like that doesn't make any sense at all. I'd probably want to add the description of total sales going back to 2017. As of December, we've made 836,000 or something like that.
I just have an issue with the date, and I know that's really small, but I'm gonna speak to you.
Yeah. I just figured. Dates are tricky.
So.
Oh, if you want to, yeah. I actually don't have any, I don't have a date filter on this one.
No.
Um,
So did you do a different sheet? Or you just deleted it?
yeah.
I didn't have a month.
I don't do the same thing, but
My mind
she's
was
different
another
there.
month.
Oh,
Like, I
okay.
didn't have the option to be able to range it outside of the two times like she used to.
Yeah, so the question, and I'm actually not sure why mine is showing this and some people, other people's aren't, but at the bottom, if you just have the years showing, which isn't a big deal either way, but you just want to click format. So you right click and then you click format. And we've done this in the past. Then you'll get this little dates option over here and you can choose whatever kind of format you want. I'm always really annoying and I go custom and I do my little month, year, just because I like the way that shows. But you can click anything in there. March 2001 is fine.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone close and just have a quick question? Otherwise, I'm going to move on. All right. So let's just click through a couple more just to kind of get the repetition down. So again, we have our two calculated fields. You can tell because there are little triangles here. This one is still just our sum of sales. Let's click into this one and let's do maybe just difference. And then again, we have to drag sum of sales back onto here because it replaces it. And now we're showing, right, same sum of sales. It's calculating the difference of this one and the one above it to give us 213. This one, the one above us to give us negative. And then notice how this top one's blank and then this top one's not blank. That's again because it's showing right now table down. So even though this is the very top one, it's ignoring the panes and computing the difference here. Just to keep things consistent, I'm going to keep this with pane down. So the top one will always be blank. Do what? Let's see. Yeah, I can't. Oh, the full screen. As I say, actually, I don't know how to, but I will actually. There we go. I can do that too.
And then, yeah. Yeah.
Just one leg caster, so.
Yeah, so we feel like. Yeah. There it goes.
Thank you.
Seems like it's repetition.
Oh, because I have just.
It's a lot of the same.
Yeah, just what we watch the videos over again, like, okay, you
Yeah.
just, I want to concentrate when you're doing this.
Right.
And I get by myself, like, wait.
To make it
I mean,
easier,
keep
so I'm
the
not
pages
looking.
open and keep them back and forth.
I'm telling you, the Tableau community is actually really good. Like Google. There's a ton of forums and stuff out there.
I was doing that for the if statement in the lookup.
Right.
function. I was like, okay, if I'm using this out instead of this, it took a while for me.
Yeah, I copy and pasted something today for a Tableau formula. It's all about just what I'm trying to do is just show you guys possibilities so you know what you can Google. But yeah, table calcs is a lot of, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of kind of rinse and repeat.
it makes a lot of sense with the fundamentals, because I'm just like an idiot where this is going as far as, I mean, again, it all depends on the data, I'm just trying to find something you can just mess around with, but I like this idea of look at Charley, know how to load your text, the data files easily go into Tableau, and like, this is, that's something I'm impressed on our tech team right now, like, hey, I don't know, I was like, I'm doing this to learn, like, I want you just to build railroad tracks, like, I need you to also, it needs to make sure you can stop and you can get the data too.
Yeah, it's I've had some pretty spicy conversations with our product team of like, hey, I know that like the functionality works fine, but if we don't require this field, or if we don't make this a drop down instead of an open text, like we're not going to be able to report on it. We're getting mad at our data engineers for how they're storing the data. Like knowing how to build these things and what the data needs to look like, then you can start yelling at product and tech people, make them require it.
I had a question about more like day-to-day for you, to put in for you. How often does someone ask you, can you send out a report for today? Like how often does that happen?
Less now. When I was in like a data analyst role, it was a couple a day for sure. We've made a big push. So the question was, how often do I, in my current role, build reports to send out? In the past like year or so, I've made a big push to get like automated dashboards set up. So like the live data things that we were just doing. So now Tableau has a really, really cool functionality where you can actually subscribe to views, and it will send you an email of the view, whatever cadence you want. So what I did was I built a ton of like high level kind of KPIs and trackers, and how many sales did we have yesterday? How much revenue we made, or our profits, like, and then anyone that wants to see it, they can just subscribe to it and they open their email Monday morning and it's right there. So anytime someone asked me to build something more than once, I thought to myself, how can I automate that? So now it's not necessarily, can we get this one report? I'll set it up. I'll build the report, but I'll set it up in a manner that they can get it whenever they want. Which is why, like, if you go out, let me just go ahead and show you guys. Like here's our Tableau server. So this is, and I won't actually click into anything, so you can't really see the data. But if we go to like explore, like we have different like folders for like individual people, for different companies. A high level dashboard is one that we toss like everyone into, different projects that we're working on. But even if you like click into dashboards here, you can see inside of here, there's multiple subfolders. There's countless different projects and things that people are clicked on. So what people will do is whichever ones they care about, and we've done a good job of training people how to navigate, those star the ones that they like, or the ones they want to check in on. So then when they land here every day, you can see here's my favorites. So these are the dashboards I check every day. But if I don't even want to open Tableau and I just want to say like, here's a good one that doesn't have that confidential of data since I'm putting it on YouTube. If I click into this, I can go, let's see, how do we actually set it up? Notification, share, watch. Yep, yeah. So this table right here is actually using, if I could click into it, percent of total. So we are creating different leads for our sales team, and I wanted to make sure that they were actually calling them. So I did, here's how many leads were created every day. And then the contacted is the percent of the total, compute using table down. So I can see out of every day, 89% of these have been contacted.
So what's the no?
The no. Oh, yeah. So this is, you kind of have to get into some Salesforce hierarchy here. Things start as a lead, at least in our Salesforce instance. And then once they call them and set a demo, because we do a ton of cold calling, they actually become an opportunity. And then opportunity is what like our people that close and give demos and stuff work. So the null ones just mean that 11,000 haven't converted yet to an opportunity.
Got it.
Yeah. Some nice filters over here. But what I was trying to show is you can click into watch, hit subscriptions, and then I could say, hey, just email me this, daily, weekly, hourly. Because I don't expect like, Dan Houghton, CEO of a Builder Trend, to click around and try to find dashboards in like this jumbled mess of things. He's like, the ones he would care about is here are our net customers every single day. Read it, close out of it, never think about it again. How did I get on that tangent? Oh, you asked how many times I build, how often I build things.
But to your point, I have a customer who stated I need a dashboard for my dashboards.
You start getting into some dashboard inception, and then after that, you're gonna need a dashboard of your dashboards. Let's go format here. Let's put these back. Okay, then the last one that I want to show you guys, and then we'll move on to some of those date things, is, so we just did difference in sales, right, which is calculating the difference here. The one that really logically kind of follows next is quick table calc, percent difference. So all that's doing, we have to drag sales back on here. We have to make sure that is compute using pane down. All that's doing is taking the same difference thing and showing it as a percentage of the previous one. So if we went 328,000 to 91,000, we lost $236,000. And that is negative 72% of that 328,000. So the reason I want to show this one is this is another good one that I put into tooltips and stuff, especially when I'm showing dates over time to show, hey, we were up 20% from last month, or we were down 20% from last month. But I'll let you guys copy it over to this table view, and then I'll click over into our line chart view.
I'm sorry, Charlie, what did you add in? I know you just added another measure, but it was the difference.
Yep, it was percent difference.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
I had an epiphany and was writing something down in a note.
Oh, perfect. Heck yeah. An epiphany from something that we were talking about here, or?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Cool. I was hoping you'd say yes, and I made a difference, and you weren't just like daydreaming and thought about something else. I did do compute using pane down. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not this right here.
No, I get like the numbers wrong.
They're probably in different order.
Yeah, they're just they are in just a different order.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at my chance in a different order, so the only thing I would say about mine is this right here. In my difference.
But that's not, you need a difference, but not the percentage.
The numbers, you see.
Oh, yeah. So just go into, and it's kind of annoying because they don't have it the same here, but you know, this one here, you just need to go to yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the second one.
Why does the first one? This is the
So you're
So
saying,
the third one.
oh, okay.
Confused.
But I still like.
That's that jump around too, then you written, that's all. it is.
Oh, yeah.
My numbers are still off, though.
Oh, see how it's not right. So 91.
Oh, your sales.
You got furniture office technology, okay. First one should be.
You make sure I didn't hang out.
Oh, no. Right.
No, I got mine.
Oh,
Okay,
Okay,
so
so-
my furnishing is a third.
in my,
Yours
so
first.
that's probably what.
That's what's throwing it off. I don't know if mine's backwards or.
Well, mine's off, because you see your name is only two.
Yeah, so it starts off, but it's your technology, so your furnishings just got, moves the top, and that should be the third.
The word.
That's all, you're doing everything right, it's just that,
And
because this one should be, since this is a running total, since this is a
Oh,
total,
I
it needs to be third to
see.
do it. So you're doing everything right, it's just these are formatted from.
differently from the previous.
Well, your total, you're going from least to largest, so that's why you're not.
Oh, I see.
So if you went to sales and just, I don't know what you're gonna start with, how else do you make sure? I mean, put mine as a zero.
Oh.
I'm still just waiting. Mine, well, you can't, you can't do anything else because you don't have one of these for the sales. But it is so, but
What's your major sum?
for which.
Very first one.
Nothing.
Oh, that's categories, sorry.
Oh,
We should
that's
do
fine.
categories.
Oh, yeah. It's okay to get down.
And then you have to click around and then you'll match.
Right. Yeah, because
Because
there's
you're
your
usually category that, so not even sales matter. So if you go to your major names,
It's a little.
that's where
Yeah.
you move around, all the numbers for five is four, it's just
If
moving.
nothing else, you're getting some really practice and troubleshooting.
So take like edit.
So does it matter?
I assume
No, not for this example. If we were like, normally we use a lot of these, we will like sorting by date, or customer number, or something like that.
I don't know,
It doesn't really matter what cases.
Okay, like we put happy here.
But like, I guess it, where like, so you're gonna, if you do, so.
I mean,
yeah, at
it's
some point you just put the,
something.
you just ascended,
Yeah.
when you did
Yes.
something either by, yeah, you did your sales maybe by ascending.
Oh, if you're wanting to show all these ones.
No, I meant like,
It might be your sales in, she should put the sales in as ascending.
Oh,
You put your sales in ascending, and there's no way to change that. She was maybe should get like a subcategory like flipped, because on the standard one, it's first, she's third.
oh, yeah.
So she put ascending in sales, how do you reverse it back to maybe the? See how hers is on top, she just did ascending sales.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
You do, are you just trying to
Sometimes
see
weird,
what-
She just wants to match what.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that was like, like,
You mean.
I think that's what you want to do, is over here, do a sort. And then,
Right? So I wonder what I messed up though. I wonder what.
I bet sales is just.
All right.
So probably, yeah.
I'm gonna go one more, now that we have percent difference, like I said, I use this one a lot. In these same sort of things. So I'm gonna go ahead and show how this would work in a line chart real quick. And then, we'll break. So for this example, just to clean things up a little bit, let's keep our month on our columns. Instead of having it colored by category, let's just put category on rows. So we have 3 different rows, and then bring sales over. So instead of all on one chart, which I typically like to do, I think for the sake of examples, I think it'll make sense if we're brought it over into 3 different charts here. So now another thing that, business leaders are going to want to report on is if I hover over here and I see that, hold on, let me change my reset. In October 2017, I got 12,000 from furniture. I don't know if that's good or bad. What I care about is that up month over month. So what we can do is we can use that percent difference because we just want to know what it was last month and what it is this month. So I'm going to go into sum of sales, quick table calculation, and percent difference here. And now let me make sure that we're doing compute using, yeah, table across. I think that's fine. But I want to double check it. So let's bring sales back onto the tooltip here. So 7,000 in April, 6,000 in May. So that is a negative percent. And then we got up to 13,000, which is about 91%. Yeah, so now I'm showing, let's go ahead and let's make it really simple here. Order date. Let's zoom back into just 2020. There we go. So now I can see month over month. In March, I was up 96% from February. I was up 3% in April, 14,000 to 15,000. And again, this is probably something that I'm going to want to toss in the tooltip instead, as opposed to just show it like this. So let's go ahead and swap these out. Let's bring this down to details. Let's bring this up to sales. So now I can see my monthly sales, but if I hover over it, it'll show me the percent difference. And again, I think this is probably one where we're going to want to change the tooltip a little bit. So let's say in oops. Now when you hover, in June we made 19,000 our furniture category. That's 12% higher than last month. In July we made 11,000. That is 37% lower than last month. So now we start getting some context using that percent difference. So a little harder to understand when you're looking in the grid line or the line chart view, but probably more applicable than just putting something in a table like we've shown previously. So I feel like I went through a ton of different things real quick there. So let me show you from the start again. Order date onto columns, month, year, sum of sales onto the rows. Here we go. And then I also brought categories over here just to split them into 3. Then all I did was drag sum of sales onto the detail and then change this to percent difference.
Can you show that tooltip again?
Like the one that I typed in. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you made
I always like to make the important things stand out a little bit. Anyone have any questions?
Just getting comfortable with the running to percentage of the difference.
Yeah.
When you what, so.
Another kind of cool way, I guess I want to show you guys two things real quick, and then we're gonna cut for break. Another way that we have the table view, which I think is really easy to kind of see what's happening here. If you want to get comfortable with all the different things that are happening with the line charts, this is legit what I did to prep for this class to make sure that I had everything here. I brought in, and I won't make you guys all do this right now, but if you're watching this back, let's bring in our month year order date. Let's bring our sum of sales. You can drag stuff over up here on the rows and see like kind of like what we were doing with the tables. And like, let's go over here and let's do quick table calc running total. And then let's drag sales up again. Let's do quick table calc percent difference. And let's bring this up again. So then you can kind of get the same kind of effect that we were having, percent of total, that we were having with our table, where you can kind of see each calculation side by side and what's happening. Then if you wanted to, let's bring like measure name on colors, and now you can see here's all of our different calcs and what they're showing here. You can click around in different things and figure out what's going on. So if you're having trouble getting accustomed like to the line chart as opposed to the table, just bring them all in at once and then start kind of clicking through and seeing, okay, here's what each one is showing. The other thing I wanted to show just real quick is, see how in our tooltip here, I got really lazy and I just put higher / lower, even though I could put, whoops, where's, oh yeah, although some months it's negative. Using what we learned last week, I can actually go over here and do create a calculated field. And let's just go ahead and do if. We can just drag this right over. See, this is the calculation. This is the formula that you guys would have had to learn to type in if it wasn't for quick table calcs. So that's why I love them. And the nice thing is you can see, if you didn't see what I did there, I literally, here's the calc I want to bring in. I just brought that in. So let's do if that is greater than 0, then higher, else lower. And sorry, the display is messed up. I'm going through like 3 different HDMIs right now, so I apologize. And Let's call this literally just higher, lower. So now that I have this calculation in here, let's go ahead and bring that over to my details. Tooltip. Now you can see it says negative 16% lower than last month, 87% higher. And now that you guys know how to write if statements, you could actually go ahead and do that to make your tooltip just a little nicer. You could also come in and do, you could go ahead and color by that if we wanted to. Let's make higher green and lower red or something like that. Christmas colors. Cool.
The one that you did really fast, can you show me my name, like, some of sales, change, did you just take sales?
Which one?
You did like the percent difference between total volume.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, measure names. Yeah.
Okay.
We've used those kind of in passing from time to time. I guess I never really stopped to explain what they are. Measure names and measure values are two things that come with every data set by default. Same thing with orders count. This thing, that's literally just a count of your rows. No matter what data set you bring in, you'll always have measure names and measure values. Oh yeah. Right. And so you can see like when we do tables and stuff, it'll bring in measure names and measure values here. But rarely do the only time I really use them is when good old show me tells me where I need to use them. But okay, let's take a quick 5 minutes. And then we'll round out. I promise all we have left is we already did all these. Where are they at? Oh, these last four here, year-to-date, compound growth rate, year-over-year, year-to-date growth. And they'll seem like rinse and repeat after running through those first 7. So let's call it an even 8:15 when we should be back.
Sweatshirt.
Cool. These last four we cover are going to be a lot of the same types of calculations. And if you understand how those first kind of 7 we went through work, these are going to be very, very similar. The only thing that's different and why I wanted to break them out into 2 separate sections is you can see by default, actually this is a bad example. When I was pulling in these things, by default, these are grayed out. And actually, if we pull up Tableau right now and say we wanted to do one of those, we go to Quick Table Calc, you can see they're grayed out here. These only work if you have a date in your calculation. So right now I don't have any dates anywhere, which is why these Quick Table Calcs are grayed out. If I went over to one of these where I have some dates down here, I did Quick Table Calc. You can see this one works, which is actually the one we're not going to cover. These are still grayed out. And that's because dates and times are really, really finicky in Tableau, which is why in the overview here, I actually had a separate bullet point for working with dates and times. So this is another thing that we've kind of done in passing, similar to the measure names and measure values, but I haven't really explained to you guys why. In Tableau, by default, every pill that you drag over is either blue or green. And blue pills mean that they're discrete values. So discrete values are categories, subcategories, region, things that are easily broken out. Continuous categories or continuous pills are things that, as makes sense, are continuous over time. So a lot of times this is actually a perfect example. Our measures are typically green, right? Because sales is continuous, quantity is continuous. However, we just made a measure here, higher or lower. And I don't know if you can see on my screen, but that one is actually blue, right? If I pulled it over to details here. So even though it's a measure, it's blue. And that's because that's a discrete measure, right? It's either higher or lower. It's not a continuous measure anymore. Yes.
Historical data be considered continuous, like because it's like the data like is added as.
It depends. Just because it's historical or live doesn't necessarily. So the question was, would historical data be continuous because it's continuously updating? It's more so what the individual data points or data types look like. So continuous data points are basically anything that can span a range. So they're going to be numerical, but discrete variables are going to be like strings and text and things like that. So things that can like easily fit into buckets. The easiest, and we could probably do a whole entire lesson between discrete and continuous. I'm trying to keep it pretty high level, but like a good example would be quantity, right? Let's pull this over. So if we pulled, let's just do, say this is an attribute. Okay, so right now quantity is green, which means it's continuous, because you can see it can run anywhere from 0 to 15. It can be anywhere between those. It's continuous. If I wanted to, I could change that to discrete, and now it is blue because it can either, basically what I was saying, and even though the numbers didn't change, what I'm saying is, no, it can't be anywhere between 0 and 15. It's exactly right. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's kind of a fugazi, kind of a nebulous term, but it'll actually make perfect sense when I bring in dates, because I think those are the biggest, most often type of data point that can be both. And I'll show you exactly what I mean here. So let's bring order date over here. And just so we have some data, let's bring our classic sales here. And I want it to be a bar chart. Okay, so right now, year of order date is blue because it is discrete. It's either 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. A lot of times, what we've noticed here is we can bring in quarter, it's going to stay blue, day, right? We have 1 through 31. Those are all discrete. If we were the month that I always go and click into, You can see now it changes to green, and I'm saying this is a continuous variable because they can be anywhere between these. I'm just grouping by month. If I go to like exact date, and now my lines are so small that you can't even really see them. Again, it's continuous. A bit of a nebulous term, so I don't want you guys to get too bogged down on it. But the rule of thumb is if I want, in this specific instance, if I want my date calculated or quick table calculations to be able to use, so they're not grayed out, I have to have discrete order dates. Or the date has to be discrete. So I pull this one over where it says year and it's blue. If I go to quick table calc now, let's go ahead and make year and month. If I go to quick table calc, you can see now I can choose all these date options. So even though I have year and date exactly like we had it before, if I were to click into our continuous right here, I have year and month, just like we had in the other one. And now it won't let me do that year-to-date total and things like that. So months and years are really, Tableau is really particular with them. So for our examples that we're going to use here, we want to make sure that they're blue pills, meaning that they're discrete values. And the reason that Tableau wants to do that is it wants to compare this month exactly to a year ago, this month exactly, or last month exactly, or year to date, or year over year, or month over month, whatever we want to calculate here. So it needs to be a discrete value that can compare 2018 to 2017, not a continuous value. In our head, you think that it should be able to compare it, so it's frustrating and hard to explain. And I'm actually a little disappointed how I'm explaining it right now. So next week we'll start out with a better explanation. But the takeaway for this week is if you want to do date calculations in Tableau, you have to make sure that they're discrete. Okay, I'm going to just kind of live, let's change this back to a line. I'm going to do kind of exactly what I was talking with that other example about, and I'm just going to bring in sum of sales 4 times. And we're just going to kind of go through one by one and talk through, actually, how many are there? 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll bring in 5 so we can keep our normal sum of sales at the very top. So we're going to keep this row of sum of sales to compare everything across. In our second row, we're going to go quick table calc, and we're going to go year-to-date total. So year-to-date total is going to look very familiar because all it's doing is calculating a running total, just like we did before, but automatically resetting every new year. So this is a term that you would use a ton if you're a data analyst or a business analyst, is how much money have we made year to date, or how many total sales do we have year to date. It's the same calculation of just a running total. The only difference is Tableau knows that it's a date, and it's just calculating it across each date as opposed to, or across each year, as opposed to across a pane or across a table or anything like that. So that one's very similar and actually a bit redundant. Because look, we could actually just go quick table calc, running total, and then all we'd have to do is change that to compute using pane across, and we have our same exact calculation. But if you don't want to do that extra work and you want to just show year-to-date total, that's what we're showing there. Does that one make sense? Kind of. That one is, I would say, just don't overthink it. It's the same thing as running total. Compound growth rate is one that, unless you guys are planning on getting into finance and being a financial advisor or trading stocks or something like that, don't worry about it. I actually did a ton of research prior to this class, trying to remember my old managerial finance classes from my MBA and what compound growth rate is. If you want the calculation, let's pull this up. There you go. That's what it's doing.
I was gonna say I use Kager all the time, man. I had a 29.5% Kager over 5 years. For my
Okay. Well, Ted, you can use you can get a little Google Drive going and show your investments and your KGAR over time, and show us all how you use compound growth rate. But I am not going to busy my little brain trying to remember why that's important. But it's cool. I'm glad somebody knows it, because you can appreciate the fact that Tableau can do it automatically here. Next one, year-over-year growth. So this one is going to be pretty similar to what was it, percent difference from our first section here. So the only difference is it's going to compare, instead of the prior row, like our other one did, is a percent difference was just taking the row above it minus the row behind it. This is going to compare year over year. So it's going to compare January 2018 to January 2017 automatically, which is really, really nice. So again, that's why all of 2017 is blank, because we're not able to see January 2016, February 2016. But if we look up here, 14,000 January 2017, 18,000 in January 2018. That's a 27% growth rate there. And so every single month here, and again, this is one we'd want to clear up our tooltip on. It's showing the year over year difference. So why this is important is a lot of times in business, depending on what business you're in, you have some pretty extreme seasonality stuff. So for example, Builder Trend is a construction business. The busy months in construction are in the summer. The off months in construction are in the winter. So if I wanted to compare like September to like August, you could actually see some pretty drastic differences because construction businesses are winding down. They're getting ready for their slow month. So rarely would I compare month over month data or month over month data points for our data, because things can change. I would compare September this month to September, or September this year to September last year, January this year to January last year. A great example is sales. So we were at the International Builder Show last week. We got like 300 new sales just from the show alone. If I tried to show January compared to December, that wouldn't make sense because we didn't have an International Builder Show in December, but it is every year in January. So when I showed year over year growth, now I'm comparing apples to apples. So this is a really, really handy calculation to have. And then the very last one is year-to-date growth. So this is going to combine basically the year-to-date total, which we already looked at, which is just the running sum, and the same concepts of the year-over-year growth. So if we go to year-to-date growth, what this is showing is instead of just our sales in January compared to just our sales in January, it's showing the running sum and where we're at year-to-date in August with where we're at year-to-date in August. So if I wanted to understand, gosh, I'm going to get rid of all these just so I can look at where we're at. So where we're at in July 2018, we were down 4.2% to July 2017. So if I wanted to understand up to this point, maybe we had a really, really good July, and year over year, July is looking high. If I looked at year to date and looked at the difference there, I'm still down below. So those I don't want us to get super, super caught up on because there are different ways to calculate them using the other calculated fields. But I just wanted to make sure that we were being comprehensive and going through all of these. So if you have questions on those, you can go back in and watch the video, but I don't want us to spend a lot of time trying to calculate them there. Again, the goal is to know that it's possible, and then you can Google stuff, not necessarily be experts in everything. And I think we covered a ton tonight. So we are right at 2.5 hours, which is kind of where I like to, I think it's a sweet spot. So make sure I didn't have anything else in here. Yep, we already did this. I think, and I haven't updated this yet. for our storytelling or our show and tell for Wednesday, we went through, 7 different ones now? Let's just say try 3 different calculations. Let's just go 3 out of the 7. This top 7 here, so let's not mess around with the date ones. And again, if you want to use, I don't think we need dates or anything, so I think if you guys want to use your own data sets, these should be pretty easy to calculate. But if you did want to get a data set with dates in them, it might make more sense for the running totals and the moving averages and things like that. So any questions? Yikes, there's way too many Charlies. Quick table calcs, dates, panes, tables up, across, down. Cool. Well then, yep. Yeah, I think, so the question was, there was a couple we didn't cover, rank and moving average were 2, I think. The same concepts kind of apply across those as well. And I do, when I send out the slide deck, I do have rank and moving average in here if you wanted to compare your numbers to what I had. I guess we didn't do percentile either. Did we? No. Oh, there you go. Cool. If that, I will, I'll leave the stream running for another, technically I could be here till 9:30. So I'll leave it up if anyone has questions. Otherwise, if you guys want to dip out, I appreciate the time. And Wednesday will be an exciting course. We're going to get into some of the data science functionalities that Tableau has. So we'll cover some really, really neat built-in functionality that you can brag to all your data science friends about. So appreciate the time, and everyone have a great rest of your night. Thanks. I feel like I was talking to them, but you guys are here too, so weird. Oh yeah, we can go in broadcast, and then we can still hang out.